Yeah, good morning, viewers. This is Col Virendra Kumar from my own channel, Independent Nationalist. And I've got Mr. Neeraj Sharma with me, who is basically a development consultant, wears multiple hats, and he has been to so many countries abroad on his consulting appointment directly and through UNO. Today, we are going to discuss a very unique topic. Lot many people, they talk about it. Will India be a superpower? So my answer to that question is yes, India will be superpower. There should not be any doubt about it. And some of you may call India is already a superpower. But the point is, in real sense, there are certain parameters which I have drawn in consultation with Neeraj that how do you count India to be a superpower? And in that case, the first criteria is basically it should be the third largest economy in the world at the market exchange rate. I'm not talking of purchasing power parity. And secondly, it should be the permanent member of the Security Council. And of course, it should be the leading security provider in the Indian Ocean and South China Sea. You will be surprised that I have included South China Sea in this criteria as well. But the point is, in addition to that, there can be certain more criteria, but these are the three main criteria about which I am going to talk to Neeraj Sharma today. So first of all, as you know, economy is the bedrock of everything. Nothing moves without tummy full, without good economy. So Neeraj, my first question to you, first of all, do you agree with my parameters of being a superpower? And secondly, how do you say that when India is going to be economic superpower first?
See, agreeing or disagreeing on India being a superpower is not the issue. The issue is why do we need to have validation from anybody? If we feel we are superpower, we are superpower. That is one. Could you repeat the second part?
Second part is that it should be the third largest economy basically on market exchange rate.
Right. To that, my response is why are we in a hurry to be a superpower? If we have progressed, yes, the speed of progress may be a little uncomfortable with some of us, but with the kind of incongruities which we are dealing with in our country, I think we have done a commendable job of reaching even this level of being, we are nearly a 3.05 trillion economy compared to 22 trillion for the US and around 16 trillion for the China. So we'll reach there, no doubt about it. If we put things in order in our nation itself, we are on the path of reaching being the third. Or why third? Why not the first? With 1 billion, over 1 billion people, we have 1 billion opportunities, so to say. So each of these opportunities will definitely propel us to number one in the coming days. And why shouldn't that be an aspiration for us? That's how I see it.
Okay, so there are certain external factors which are probably affecting our performance, or maybe that they are blockade in our path to become a superpower, and there are certain internal compulsions. So how do we, let us go to the external things first. What should exactly we achieve? And of course, I gave the parameter that India being considered for the permanent seat in Security Council, and obviously, lot many people, they may or may not agree. And of course, you have got a right. I'm going to be the devil's advocate. Okay, so I'm representing the viewers. So my point is, when India is going to be the permanent member of Security Council, and what all is required to be done.
Viewers are angels, Daksha. They are not devils. So you have to play angel's advocate rather than a devil's advocate there. So what I feel, being a member or being recognized as a permanent member of Security Council may suit some of the things, but as I said earlier, why do we need the validation? Even as of now, India is playing a very crucial and a very important role in world peace and economy. Our troops, I am not sure how many viewers know, our troops form the largest contingent in the UN peacekeeping force across the world. And not from today. right from 1950s, right from Congo days to Eritrea, Ethiopia, and so on and so forth. Wherever there is a conflict, India sends its troops voluntarily to these places to maintain peace. That is one part. Yes, being a permanent member of Security Council will add another feather to our country. But whatever we are doing is good, and if we keep doing it, the world will recognize. The latest is, for example, the election of our Chief Justice, election of Justice Dalveer Bhandari to the post of Chief Justice of the International Court of Justice, winning a whopping 183 votes out of 193 ones.
Yeah, that's a
So
great achievement, no doubt.
that is one achievement, which is another. If we see it, it's a superpower which can do it, or an emerging superpower, so to say. That's how I see it. So by and by, things will be by and by, provided we manage the international relations in a way which are beneficial for our country and its countrymen, and resolve the incongruities within our nation. We are on path of becoming the superpower.
Okay, I agree with you, but Neeraj, let us accept the fact that once we become the permanent member of Security Council, it will give us lot of say in so many international affairs. Right now, you have mentioned about the International Court of Justice. Yeah, fine. Once you become the permanent member, it gives you so much leeway, gives you so much say. People, they look you, especially the developing countries and all the countries which are basically non-permanent members. You have got a bigger say, you have got a bigger influence. People listen to you. Don't
I
you think
agree.
so?
No, I disagree a little bit on this, because being a permanent member is fine, but whatever we are doing will do nothing different from whether we become a permanent member or not. Developing countries or the countries which are emerging economies still look forward and try to collaborate with India. Whether we are a member or not, that is immaterial. Yes, we were part of a non-aligned movement at one point of time. We were there. Even now, without being a permanent member, we are observers and invitees to G7 and G20 conferences. That is a recognition which will by and by translate into being a permanent member of the Security Council. What's the hurry? That's my point of view. There's no hurry. Let's keep doing the good work we are doing, and things will fall by and by.
Okay, partially yes, agreement. Of course, all the things which are falling into place today. G7 Foreign Ministers Committee has recommended that India should be invited. It should be probably a member of the G7. So I agree with you partially, but ultimately the recognition should come because it changes the mindset of the people around. It will certainly change the mindset of China because then it will require your support in so many issues, including climate issues and other things. But nevertheless, leave it at that. Now, tell me, what are the hurdles? Superpower means military. We have discussed. We have already got a very strong military, and that is why we have put up a very strong deterrence to China. Pakistan already we have sorted out quite a bit. But other than that, what are the internal factors which can affect our standing in international arena as a economic superpower?
See, the first thing is, if we talk of the difficulties within the nation to becoming a superpower, is we have a large population which need to be productive. If that unproductive population, which contributes positively to the nation building, is empowered enough through education, through training, through finance, through capital, there is no reason why we will not be a superpower. Economic superpower, economic powerhouse, so to say. We are economic powerhouse in one sense that the world has started seeing us in last few years as the largest market. Some people find it appalling that we are considered just as consumers. If we have to change that perception, let's be good manufacturers, and real be good manufacturers where we have opportunities, facilities, and related supporting infrastructure for the budding entrepreneurs. And to have a large number of budding entrepreneurs, we need to have a mindset for development. What happens is, our country, when we became independent in 47 and 50s and 60s, was spent in, rightly or wrongly, I'm not judging or questioning that, we spent time being a socialist economy, a command economy, and the thought was that if there are bigger industries which will drive the growth, the industries down the line, the trickle down effect will of Melanovis will flow. But that didn't happen. Fortunately, we had some vision, some visionary people at the center. They thought of reforms, and in 1991 we started reforming. Anything which is deformed only can be reformed. We will not reform anything which is going well. So we have to accept we were on the wrong path. Good that we selected a path of development again. We had a relook. The licensing Raj was changed, and if we see, the economic took off. So it is in that phase of accelerated growth. We need to give some time. We need to basically keep providing for infrastructure, capital, and education. See, if we have to have industries, we need to have technical manpower, which is trained, which is efficient. Besides having a technical manpower, we need to have that this manpower should also be thinking on the lines of being an entrepreneur. That is something which has not been focused on. In our economy, because of the socialist experiment, any big industrialist is seen like a thief. They are called by names. Why? They are the creators of wealth. They are the ones who are employing tens of thousands of people, supporting at least 5 to 10 times as far as the population is concerned. So
I agree with you.
So if that is the mindset, we have to change that. We have any entrepreneur who becomes successful is because we were living in an era where shortages were there, corruption was there, still is to a large extent. It has been removed, but in that shortage era, and the bureaucrats had the power of discretion. If they had the power of discretion in terms of licenses, decisions, and all, if they are being dismantled, they are showing results also. We are becoming an economy which is growing, which is contributing not only to the GDP, but to the world trade also. The only thing is, say, I'll give an example. Some people questioned, why are we trying to launch satellites when people are poor? Why are we trying to go to Mars or the moon when we have poor people to feed? They are two different things. And they are not exclusive. Both can be inclusive. Using the satellite, if we see in 76 when we launched Aryabhat, after that, we started having educational programs through satellite. We started having remote sensing. We started from satellites. That is why we need these modern technology to help our people, empower them, and to make them use that. How will we make? How will we start make? See, and then we had India missed one leap from primary economy. We straight away jumped to the tertiary economy or the service sector, and service sector grew like anything in last 20-25 years. We basically missed out the bus for manufacturing. And manufacturing is the area which will provide employment, which will provide income, which will provide capital on a rolling basis. If we have industries, there will be demand for raw material, there will be demand for personnel, there will be demand for specialized people with talent, and there will be demand for specialized entrepreneurs who will be able to take risk and develop.
You are right, Neeraj. Today there is a report in which now from third position, India has come to the second position as the most preferred manufacturing hub. We have replaced USA today. This is a report of today. So obviously, I think the country and the government is waking up. But the point which I would like to ask you is, what is the situation of labor reforms?
See, once the economy, different states have different industrial policies, but once they start realizing the benefits of a growing economy, they'll definitely reform, because ultimately labor reforms are going to benefit the labor itself. If they have a choice to change their vocation, if they have a choice to change their employment, that will be there, of course, with safeguards. See, our fear emanates from an era where it was controlled economy, where if a mill was shut down, thousands of people got unemployed. That same fear persists, but why do we not give away this fear and try to look forward. It is here that the leadership of the country, both at the state level and the central level, it is incumbent upon them to convince people that the labor reforms will be for the benefit of the labor and the country itself. See,
Okay.
I'll give an example.
Okay.
Though we may be IT superpower in terms of software, but as far as manufacturing of chips and other things are concerned, we don't have any facility. And it's shameful. A country which has largest technical manpower doesn't have good, clean rooms to manufacture silicon chips. We had a facility which was coming up in Chandigarh many years ago. I think it's over a decade ago.
Yes.
And because of a semiconductor complex, SCL, which was there, and there was a fire because of sabotage or whatever. It was gutted and nothing has come up to replace it.
Oh.
Maybe the risks are too high. Maybe the investment is a little more, but definitely will come there by and by. The only thing is we need some entrepreneurs to take risk and some willing government to have faith in the abilities of the entrepreneur.
Okay. Okay. Now the point is, along with being the manufacturing hub, you will agree that lot of infrastructure development is required. We are lagging behind in that, and that is why if you see my background, I have put the power grid, that plant behind me. It's basically to show the importance of the infrastructure development. So what government is doing and how successful are they in creating the infrastructure for the manufacturing industry or for the overall development of the country?
See, even now, at this point of time also, there are many state governments or the people who are banning these state governments who feel that the industrialists are thieves. Till that time they change their mindset, will find it very difficult to have a coherent view of development. Because if center wants to do something, the states jettison it. If the states want to do something, somebody else comes and says, no, it can't be done. So everybody has to be on the same page, and to bring that on the same page is the responsibility of the state leaderships and the center also. It's not that they both have to walk in different ways. As far as power is concerned, then I took the example of states and center. Government after government says we'll give free power. Why? Is power generation free? It is the taxpayers' money which goes into generation of power lines, transmission, everything. So why do we want to have free? A corollary which I'll give. At the toll nakas, when we travel on the highways, we have certain personalities who are exempt from paying toll. Why do we exempt from paying a toll of 20 rupees? Can an MLA or MP not afford 20 rupees to pay? Let everybody pay, and let them get it reimbursed from their establishment, be it parliament, be it state assembly. So if they set example, only then can they expect the people to follow example, and only then can we think of becoming a superpower. Our thinking is to change. And as you said, what is required? Infrastructure is one, but from where will this infrastructure come? By capital. Even if we have capital and infrastructure, who will man these installations? We need to have trained manpower. If we have trained manpower, we need to have good colleges and schools. In last few years, in last decade, many engineering colleges were established, and now half of them, or more than half of them, don't even get to the full quota of seats which they have been allocated. Why? At one point of time, there was a demand that people wanted to become engineers and doctors only, or bureaucrats, IAS, IPS, and military. But with India integrating into the world economy, there have been many opportunities which have been thrown up. So today we find kids becoming web developers. Today we find kids engaged in artificial intelligence pursuits, everything. But the basic education is required if we have to become a superpower in the right sense. That is what I feel.
I got your point.
Starting from primary education to secondary and tertiary.
Yeah. Human resources, they become very, very important. But along with infrastructure, you mentioned about the capital and the latest asset monetization bill, that comes to mind naturally. Now, what people are expecting. In fact, I just heard Shekhar Gupta as well. A lot of people, in fact, today Rahul Gandhi has objected to that. You are selling the jewels of the crown. And a lot of people, they are expecting that there will be a lot of litigation and everything. So, first of all, tell us what exactly is asset monetization bill and how it can help in generating the capital for the development of country.
See, asset monetization is simple. If my asset is lying idle and if I can rent it out or lease it out to somebody who will be able to make productive use of it, so I get my lease rate or rent on it, and the person who has taken it on lease uh, manufactures or does an economically productive activity. It's the
Okay.
same thing. And whatever statements which are being made or whatever opinions are being expressed, it's for them to think. Because if we are prisoners of mind, nobody can help us. And I feel this is the product of the education system we have had for last few decades. Had it been a progressive looking education, had it been a education where entrepreneurs or where we would have put premium on a person becoming an entrepreneur, I think we would all have rushed towards it. Why did America become so great, so to say, as people say? Because they practice free enterprise. There are anomalies there also. There are deficiencies there also. I'm seeing the positive part. At least there are hundreds of people who want to become startups and do something, and they're able to do. Why are Indians so successful? Nearly 18% of that new startups and all in America are banned by Indians. What good do they find there that they are not able to find here? It is basically what our government says, the ease of doing business. It has improved in last few years, but
Yes.
still we need to do a lot to gain ground and to reach on the top. So
I
that
agree with you. I agree with you. We
I'll give
cannot
my
make the
example.
progress. Yeah, tell me.
I'll give my example. Some years ago, I had this bright idea of starting a company for doing analytics and all. And the pain I underwent to start a company cannot be described in these 20, 30 minutes.
Okay.
Finally, I started doing business, but I was spending more than I was able to earn. The
Earn.
reason was the kind of regulatory hurdles which were there, which were obstacles, may have been good from the point of view of a policymaker, but that policymaker has never been an entrepreneur. So he doesn't know the pain. And finally, when I decided to close the company, I had to slog much more than I had to do to open the company. So
Okay.
that is
So,
one discouragement which an entrepreneur gets. And the first time experience is many of those things can be simplified with the kind of infrastructure we have, with the kind of IT power we have, and good examples which can be translated by the registrar of companies. They can learn examples from Cowin, Aadhaar, and try to integrate that kind of ease into their working. That is not there. That is the expectation.
no, but last 1 year, there are lot many startups which have emerged out of India, and some of them are really doing well. They are doing wonderful, and I'm sure some more will come. Of course, you never told me about your startup. It's okay. But the point is that now the things are coming up. Now I'm coming to another very important aspect. Politicians, they come and go. They in any case are not expected to be knowledgeable. But what about bureaucracy? Don't you think
No, sir.
bureaucracy is the
I,
one which is going to affect the entire scenario? And in case we do not have the competent and knowledgeable bureaucracy, it is just not possible to make progress. What do you say about it?
I have a little different view. You mentioned that politicians are not knowledgeable.
Most
See,
of
if a
them.
yes, and we get the politicians we deserve. So if we start expecting more from the politicians will start living up to that expectation.
Okay.
The first thing is let us start expecting more from a politician and make him accountable.
Okay.
That is
Law of
again,
expectancy. Okay.
हमने पता है कि भाई वो तो नकारा है, कुछ करना ही नहीं है, तो वो भी नहीं करेगा. उसको पता है लोगों ने सोच रखा है नकारा हूं. So
हाँ.
if we start taking a positive view of these politicians and force them to be responsible and knowledgeable, I think we can do a lot. It is, see, in a democracy like India, it is only the politicians which can bring about a coherent change through legislations, through
Yes.
directions. I'm not saying laws which repress, laws which encourage. And you mentioned bureaucracy. See, what the kind of bureaucracy we have is a product of the era where most of them in the decision-making positions today are those who come from the command economy days, where everything was sort of commanded from the top rather than listening from the bottom. It some order was circulated that this has to be done, and that's it. Nothing good or bad was, no feedback was taken, and that is why we suffered. At least that bureaucracy, in my view, has been changing. It is becoming responsive. But who's making this responsive? It is the expectation of the political masters which is making them responsible. And this kind of thing is required for the country.
Absolutely.
And it has to come from the population also.
Okay, I agree with you.
In this, some good developments have taken place. See, society is a continuum. We cannot separate sectors and see. The RTI Act is one good enabler as far as the social side of it is concerned. So now the government departments are on their guard because they are answerable. We need to be much more open, transparent, and answerable, and that is we are moving towards.
Okay, just mention.
Yes, please.
Okay. Just mention a point about this thing, lateral entry in the bureaucracy. Though this is not a related topic, but the point is you mentioned about the law of expectancy and other things from the bureaucracy as well as from the politicians. So how do you say about the lateral entry of experts as senior bureaucrats in central government?
See, it's not that they need to be part of the government or bureaucracy. The reason is, if we see the scientific institutions in India, they are manned by educated people who are trained in the job or the kind of scientific discipline they command. So why have we not seen something good coming out of all these 30, 35 or hundreds of these scientific institutions of different councils? The reason is, once an academician or a learned person or scientist is burdened with the scientific administrative activities, that edge is lost. That is what I have seen. They become more bureaucratic than the normal bureaucrats.
Problem is because bureaucrats are the one who enjoy the perks and privileges. So everybody wants to be bureaucrat wherever he is.
No. What my view is a little different.
Okay.
What I would say is, let the bureaucrats be in the decision-making power. No issues at all. But why don't we hear these scientists who may have something good to contribute and accept it and implement that thing?
Okay. You do have a point. There is no doubt. Of course, one senior bureaucrat told me, why he joined the bureaucracy. That was my question to him, and he said, "Look, system is very clear. Around minimum time in the field and maximum time in the policy making positions. That is what one should aim to be comfortable in bureaucracy." So problem is, if people are not there in the field to get the grassroots intelligence or the information, policy formulation becomes very, very difficult, and most of the times it goes tangent. And that is what exactly had to change in bureaucracy.
You're right, but what you have said is right. I see it in something in a different way.
Okay.
Whoever the policymakers are there, let them spend time in the field. Let them undergo the pain which an entrepreneur faces or a farmer faces. Only then they'll understand, and until they do it, they'll be insulated. So the biggest obstacle which I see in India becoming a superpower is, we need to have a coherent primary, secondary, and tertiary education system which sensitizes to the needs of our country, to our vision. Second, to have a responsive and a transparent bureaucracy which is proactive. It is not that that is to be condemned. If whatever we are seeing is the contribution of bureaucracy in one way or the other.
Yes.
and they maintain continuity. They have a very, very positive contribution to make to the to the development of this country. The only thing is reorientation and retuning. That's all.
Retuning, yeah, I agree with you. Now, I will come to the last point, that social consolidation of India, and without that, nothing can be achieved. How
And
can you do it?
can you elaborate a little
Now,
bit
my
what
point is the
exactly?
entire society, there is a mental turmoil, there are issues which are taking place in the mind of the people. You know, there are communal tensions, there are issues, that particular segment of the society is getting more benefits, I'm not getting. Reservation is one issue, communal harmony is another issue. All those things which are coming into picture to basically fritter away the national energy. So I call it a social consolidation. How do we align the social forces so that we move in single direction as a country?
See, whatever you described is not unique to India. These tensions or these kind of rifts and conflicts occur across practically every country in one way or the other. So this is nothing new and this is nothing unique. That is one. Second thing is, more of these conflicts or rifts start occurring in a society when the expectations exceed the delivery. That is one. Other thing is the perceived hurt or perceived wrong on the part of the people who feel that they have not been given justice or they have not been given the right share of the economy or part of development. So first thing is we need to manage the perceptions, and also through actions of the government, bureaucrats, and society as such. It's not that it is only the responsibility of the governments and bureaucrats to maintain these perceptions. It is the educated people, not literate. Literacy and education are two different things. So
Two
it is
different.
the educated people who need to drive down within their sphere of influence that these are things which are manageable. Why do we become hardliners? Because we become hardliners because we see that something which we are demanding is not being met, and we want to protest. And protest is one misused right in democracy, and we have had ample of it. But it's not that it will continue. Things will change.
Okay.
And
Okay.
the other thing to remember is, as economy develops, everybody would like to preserve their economic status in the society. Nobody would like to lose it through communal tensions or
Or social
disturbances.
tension. I agree with
That becomes what we call as the speed breaker for all of these.
So, okay, so that brings me to the point that your GDP should keep on increasing, economic prosperity should be inclusive, and it should be there so that people have got the vested interest in it. Okay.
Besides GDP being increasing or inclusive growth, the distribution has to be each unto his abilities, each unto his share. That's all.
Yeah, that is what my point was with the inclusive. That word inclusive is basically so that everybody is included. Now, if you mention this point, that obviously the role of social media will come. And obviously, do you feel there is anything which is required to be done to have a very responsible social media? Because that is the primary mean of communication as on now within the society.
See, responsibility cannot be imposed on social media. It has to grow from within. If the people who are manning these social media platforms have a perception which is transparent, which is aligned with the ideals of the country, it will be responsible. The only thing is, I'll give an example. Many years ago, one of my friends had gone to San Diego, and it was a time when we did not have internet or so good means of communication. So I requested him to get some country songs from San Diego, from the local FM radio stations. So that 1 hour tape, when I listened, there was something striking which I found. In 1 hour, there were around 36 advertisements, and each ad was something like, the biggest car tire shoppy of America comes to your town, the great American circus in San Diego, the best of America, the greatest of America. So that greatest, best, biggest, it was hammered 36 times in 1 hour. I'm not saying we should adopt that. I'm just saying the power of social media. at that time it was radio. So if the American population listens to this day in and day out, why will they not think that America is great and they can be even bigger? The
Basically, what
same
you're
thing with
talking is positive messaging through the social media.
positive messaging. And even in social media, what happens is whatever used to happen on the crossroads, जो चौराहे पे discussion होते थे, आजकल social platforms have
Social.
become the crossroads, the gossip, or what we call as the water coolers.
Okay.
Office में जो water cooler talk होती है, it is now shifted to social media. That is to be seen. Yes, please.
Okay, Neeraj, we have talked of lot many things, but there is one point which is still missing, that military reforms, that theaterization. I just took it that way because, I thought probably I will use your expertise for economic issues and development issues. But the point is, that is also very, very important so that you are perceived as a superpower, and military reforms are very, very important for that. But you may like to add on something into that.
See, what I see is, for any economy to grow and keep growing, we need a force which protects us. We will be zero if we don't have something to protect us. So to
Yes.
preserve, protect, and grow, we need a strong military. The stronger we grow economically, the stronger we need to grow militarily also. Because we don't live in an ideal world where people will respect our economic growth. People will try to nudge it out. People will try to gouge the things out. So to preserve that, we need to have a good military, no doubt.
Okay.
And if we have economic, if we are powerful enough, if we are saying we are a superpower, we may have dominant position, or we can make dominant decisions across the world. So our military, if we are capable enough, should be in a position to be used wherever across the world we feel. But that comes at a stage when we are confident economically and militarily. We don't have to meddle in any small problem anywhere. We are already helping the world out through our peacekeeping forces in the United Nations.
Yes, and we are the net security provider in the Indian Ocean nations. That is what we did in Malay and all other places. Okay, so that is the roadmap. I think you have already mentioned all those points. Any other point which you'd like to add on?
My point is just the belief that we are
Okay.
already on a path of becoming bigger and better, to be inculcated right from the primary education to secondary to tertiary.
Great.
Because still we have belief in our own system, in our own leadership, in our own governance. Nothing will
Nothing, yeah. I think that's a very big point, Neeraj. It's really a big point. This is actually the biggest point. Our self-belief in our own system, own people, own resources, own capability. And that has to be inculcated from day one.
Yes. The other thing is, there'll be many differing views. People may not agree. That's fine. We have to have different opinions. We have to have different discussions on this. But we have to have room for all those countering arguments and differing views and discussions. Only then we can move forward.
Yeah. And that capability to manage the difference of opinion. Thank you so much, Neeraj. It has been a pleasure interacting with you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.